Ahem. Hey, listen to me when I'm talking to you.
Wait, what? You're talking to me?
Yes, you lazy, rude, tattooed slob of a shelf stacker. Get me some cans on the top shelf right now.
Oh, sure. How could I ever decline your request, Karen? Now, for every likes this video gets, one Karen will become nicer and won't bother other people. So please, smash that thumbs up and notification buttons. To the story, let's shake things up. I work here, lady. I'm out of work because of COVID. So, occasionally, I drive my husband to and from work because he has a long commute, and at least once in a while, I can do the driving for him. Now, he works at a warehouse-type shopping center between 9 to 10 a.m., Monday to Friday. They have senior shopping. His shift started at 9:45. I had some shopping to do, so we walked in together. I went to grab a card and go to the back of the line of regular shoppers waiting for the senior hour to finish up and be let in. My husband kisses my cheek and walks into the building. Now, we're in our 30s, definitely not close to the over 55. The lady at the front of the line starts shrieking that man was just allowed into the shop and didn't wait in line like the rest of us. I stopped mid-card grab and watched it unfold. My husband turns around and politely explains while holding up his name badge. Sorry ma'am, I work here. I'm just showing up for my shift, is all. I'm not cutting the line, I promise. And she loses it. She demands to speak to a manager since people are being allowed to cut in line in front of her, and how she's been waiting for over an hour to get in. The door didn't even open until 9 a.m. and there are signs everywhere explaining that 9 to 10 is senior hour, and it has been this way for months. My husband continues to try to calm the lady down, explaining that he's an employee, his shift starts in 3 minutes, he's not cutting in line, he's clocking in for his shift. The person watching the door keeps explaining the same. Finally, a manager comes to the front. Karen is now blue in the face from yelling and screaming. It's time for my husband to clock in, and he cannot get past the front door because Karen keeps screaming. The manager explains that my husband is indeed there to work and get everything ready for the incoming flood of patrons. Karen was having none of it. My husband finally decides that in order to just end the situation, he would use the back entrance at the complete opposite side of the giant building. Manager and husband share a very knowing look. Manager apologizes to Karen, who now looks incredibly righteous. Manager says he will have a talk to the employee at the front door. There's some whispering. My husband's coworker smiles a little. It's now 10 a.m. and the door is supposed to be open to everyone. Karen starts looking very, very impatient as the manager, standing at the door, tells her he cannot let the general public in until there are like 2 people at the door. We wait and wait and wait and wait. And about 5 minutes after 10, my husband walks up from inside the building to the door and calls Karen on into the building, apologized for being late, and he was being held up. The laughs from the people in line behind her was just precious. She went from blue in the face screaming to red and embarrassed. The best I work here lady ever. Thought you would all enjoy a little spin on the I don't work here lady. Oh, this is priceless. I wish I could have been there. To the second story. Apparently, being tall equals to shelf stacker obligated to help. Today, I braved the wilds of Lidl to do my weekly food shop. Anyone who's been to Lidl knows the uniform. I was in an Iron Maiden t-shirt and jeans. I seem to be a magnet for people who need help in shops. I will always help where I can, but only polite people. As a tall lady, little over 6 feet, I'm constantly asked to reach for things. I usually don't mind. Today, I was pondering the complexities of tinned tomatoes when I heard an impatient ahem behind me. Assuming I was in the way, I sidestepped and apologized through my mask. I locked eyes with a woman I assumed was in her late 40s. A good foot like shorter than me. She proceeds to raise her eyebrows at me and go, "Well, aren't you going to help me?" Whilst gesturing at the top shelf the front row had gone. She then asked if I was deaf or just stupid. I smiled through my mask and just pushed the tray of tins back a few centimeters on the shelf and walked off. She followed me through the shop tooting, muttering something about young people and lazy staff. I heard her loudly complaining about rude, tattooed slob of a shelf stacker at the next till over. I just turned and waved at her. She went nuclear. And the checkout staff was just like, "Ma'am, she doesn't work here. Do you have a point cards?" Petty? Yes. Deserved? Absolutely. Well, I would high-five you if I could. You did good. The third one. I used to work here and already left, but somehow got fired. Note that this happened several years ago during summer after I moved. I used to work at Costco from 2016 to 17, won't disclose location, and management wasn't really that bad. Summer and holiday seasons were hectic, but aside from that, there wasn't any issues till 2017. In 2017, I was moving further away than I expected, so I gave in my 2 weeks notice and 2 people signed papers. About 2 weeks after I moved, which was an hour away from my original location, I got a call asking where I was and why I didn't show up to work. Like, what? I simply told them I moved and gave in a 2 weeks notice prior beforehand, and they thought I was lying, and then proceeded to fire me. I don't even work there anymore. Well, they fired you, so you need to file for unemployment. They cannot keep adequate records, they can pay for it. To the fourth story. How many ways do I have to explain that I don't work here? Last year, I went to Sephora to get some makeup since I'm required to wear it at work. Well, I just got off and went there so I can go home and sleep, so I'm in my work dress, blazer, scarf, heels, hosiery with a name tag and ID hanging from my neck. My uniform colors are navy, blue, and green. Most reasonable persons would know I'm a flight attendant, but something about this place makes me a magnet for their customers. I'm shopping and someone asks me where such and such foundation is, and I say I'm sorry, I don't work here. She scoffs and says that what good am I, and then badmouthed me to her friends saying that I'm no good. I then reply to her and say that it's pretty obvious that I don't work here, therefore I don't know where it is. Unless this store is flying at 36k feet, I cannot help you. She walks off and starts talking BS to the store associate asking for a manager, and then continues with her BS to her while pointing to me, standing in line to check out, that I won't help her. She says that she doesn't work here. I told her I said that twice, but still doesn't believe me. She offers to help her, but Karen just wanted to talk crap about me. Finally, I stood next to the manager and pointed out the differences. Her dress is black and red, her name tag is completely different, I'm wearing a scarf and no other employee does. My 4 IDs, lanyard, name tag all have my company name on it. I finally told the manager, good luck, I'm going home to sleep. I would like to say that it's just a one-time occasion, but I've lost count at how many times it happened. But those people were polite enough and had a laugh. Well, I would have asked her if she spoke English. That question drives these types insane. To the fifth story by u/Fugastic. Apparently, I did work there. It's 2 p.m. on a Saturday about 20 years ago, and I'm nursing a horrible hangover, like I did just about every Saturday morning when the phone rang. "You're late for work!" I hear as I pick up the phone. Groggy, confused, and immediately worried, I answer back, "I'm sorry, I'll be right there." But as I'm speaking, I realize I have no idea who I'm talking to, and that is Saturday. So I ask, "Wait, who is this?" She answers, "It's Marcia, your boss. You're on the schedule for today." Now, I'm really confused. I'm a software engineer. There's no such thing as being on the schedule, and I work like 9 to 5 or sometimes 11 to 7 if I was out drinking Monday to Friday. So, politely I tell Marcia, whoever the duck that is, that I think she has the wrong number. She stammers a bit, and checks that she dialed the right number. Then, Marcia surprises me. She asks if I'm OP's last name. Confused, I said yes. She reads me part of my social security number. Now, I'm fully mind blown, but it suddenly hits me. The week prior, I was out drinking early and run into an old high school buddy who was bouncing at a bar. I grab a beer inside and head back out to the door to talk. After a while, just to get off my feet, I sit down on the bouncer stool. Time flies by and eventually people start showing up. Because I'm sitting on the bouncer stool, they start handing me their IDs. I'm a little more than buzzed at this point, but good enough to act like I know what I'm doing. Turns out I get spotted by Marcia. She introduces herself and assumes that I must be an employee she hadn't met yet. When she learns that I don't actually work there, she offers me a job. Apparently, I accepted, filled out tax form and other paperwork and agreed to a schedule. But, per usual, as the night goes on, I proceed to get blackout drunk. I wake up the next morning with zero recollection of my new job. Fast forward to the following Saturday, and now I'm on a call with my new boss, who is pissed at me for being late for my first day of work. I get honest. I tell her that I got blackout drunk that night, was barely sober to begin with when I agreed to work there, and I'm so hungover I can barely move. She fired me on the spot. Relieved, I went back to sleep. Well, this is definitely a new one, like a bit of a twist at the end as well. But anyway, who hires someone who is drunk and gets them to fill out paperwork and stuff? The sixth story. Ma'am, this is food truck. Okay, so this is by far the most hilarious and quite annoying encounter that has ever happened. This didn't directly to me, but to the bemusement of the food trucker owner and her husband. I took my mom to the doctor today for an appointment, and at the hospital complex, there's a food truck that comes and serves food for the employees. I've seen it several times since. That's where my mom's doctor's works. Since it was around lunchtime when my mom got done, she suggested that I go and ask if I could order some food from there. I go over there, and the woman in front of me is sounding irritated. I could even hear her even though I had my headphones in. I take them out like the sneaky tramp I am, and hear this conversation, if you can call it that. Karen:
What do you mean you cannot take me to my husband? He's sick.
Food truck owner: We'll call Marisol. Marisol: Lady, I told you, I just own this food truck. I cannot take you nowhere.
Karen: Who is your boss?
Marisol: I am. Sometimes my husband when he's in the mood.
Karen: But my husband is sick, and you are here. Take me to my husband.
Marisol: Dios mío, lady. Get the duck out. Unless you want a burrito, I'm gonna call the cops. Karen just shut up and walked away after it seemed like she wouldn't get her way. I got up and talked to Marisol. I didn't press into it because it wasn't my business, but Marisol said that Karen came up to her truck demanding that she take her to her husband who was sick, not sure with what, just because they were on hospital grounds. I got my food and my mom's. We ended up having a good lunch. I told my mom about it and we laughed so hard. Marisol cracking jokes while dishing on Karen's. Nice. To the final story. Restaurant team cannot figure out their billing software. I set it up for them and print my own bill. Background story. This happened nearly a decade ago. I was working at a startup e-commerce venture. We were a small team and it was my job to put in the process and train the staff. Every month, I would work on one department and document the IT, reporting, and the other process they need to follow, train them, and identify the person who could lead the team. It was my practice to invite the most promising employees and take them out for either drinks or a meal and get to know them better before coming to a decision. There were several restaurants and bars near our office, one of which I never patronized as it was too upscale. One day, I noticed that one of the girls I was keen to promote as a team lead for the customer support team was about to have a meltdown at work. I quickly pulled her off the floor immediately and took her to this upscale place. both to let her feel that she was valued, as well as get a bit of privacy so I could understand all her issues. The incident. We had what could be called a high tea and were ready to leave when one of the servers requested it if we could wait for a few minutes before they bring the bill to us. I had a meeting with one of the directors, so I left the company card with this girl and asked her to settle the bill and rejoin her team after clearing the bill. My meeting went on half an hour, and when I went to get my card back, the girl had not returned to work. I feared that she might have tried to run away with the card or something, so I quickly rushed to the restaurant, only to find her still waiting for the mysterious bill. I lost my cool and threatened the manager that they could not keep a patron waiting, and I was going to call the cops on them for not letting the girl leave while not presenting the bill at the same time. Till this time, the staff was trying to avoid presenting the bill. Now, they admitted the software that they ran had been upgraded that day, and none of them could make it work. They were waiting for someone from the IT team to come and update them. In the meantime, they didn't think of putting the close sign because no customers came in at the time of the day. It was amusing to say the least, and I didn't want the poor staff to pay out of their own pockets for our meal. I don't know what came over me, and I asked them to show me the system. I was used to setting up system, and in short order, figured out where they were messing up, and took the notepad the servers used to take orders, and wrote step-by-step instructions for them, and printed the bill for my own meal, and then I taught them to link the card machine to their system, printed my own bill, and swapped my card. By this time, the news that I was setting up the billing system for the restaurant had spread like wildfire in our office, as I had asked my colleague to go back to her station, and she couldn't keep this juicy tale to herself. The fallout. When I was done, I saw the director of my company waiting for me. He was negotiating with the restaurant chain for hiring out my services to them. I was only thankful that no one got fired in this whole fiasco. Sounds like you're an excellent manager and an excellent human based on a small sample size.